Let's get to our bottom two of the night, starting with Trevor Donovan doing the samba. So the judges were actually pretty harsh on Trevor this week. I really don't feel like he did a bad job. Like, it wasn't my favorite standout performance of all, but I didn't think that it was as bad as I felt like the judges made it seem to be.
I mean, I think his feet were just kind of lagging a little bit. I think that was like
Yeah.
one of my biggest complaints, at least from watching the dance. But I really think they nailed like the song and the costume and the energy. And clearly they have like a
Yeah.
really pop in dynamic partnership that everybody keeps mentioning. It could be a little taboo.
Hmm.
But I thought they did pretty well overall. Obviously, it wasn't the best dance of the
Yeah.
night. So I'm not surprised that they were, towards the bottom. But I do think that they need to kind of step it up for next week. I don't think they're out of it yet, but they could be on the chopping block, for next week.
They did get a 28 this week. So compare that to Vinny. He got a 29 and we were, praising him. I wonder if maybe why they're being ridiculed a little bit more with a more critical eye is because was it last week or 2 weeks ago when we like fell in love with their partnership? They told this amazing, beautiful story with their dance and with what they did. So it's almost like now when you have such a top tier performance, other ones that maybe don't live up seem a little more lackluster.
Yeah, that could be true. And I think that's why, you just kind of have to find new ways to bring it each week because no performance is ever going to be the
Hmm.
same. I feel like we've talked about sometimes when there's harder dances for a couple versus easier. So if this was an off week for them, I think that they still have a chance in this competition.
Definitely. So let's get to the bottom of the board. We've got Sam Champion. So him and Cheryl ended up scoring a 25. I didn't love this performance. He looked like he struggled at the very end. He spun her around and it looked like he was struggling doing that. And in dancing, you're not supposed to make it look like you're struggling to do
Hmm.
anything. I guess give me your thoughts on the performance.
I know, and this was my favorite song of the night. This song, like,
Mm,
obviously is just gonna always put you in such a good mood. But I mean, it's clear, and he's opened up about the fact that he has been struggling with his hip and his
yeah.
legs all season. Like, he's really pushed himself physically to the point where there's just no return. So even if he didn't end up getting eliminated, I still feel like it was maybe time to possibly pull himself from the competition because he's just not able to do it. His body can't hang. And I
Yeah.
think that he gave it his best. And it's clear he gave his heart and soul to this. So it is sad to
Yeah.
see him go home, but it just was his
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, unfortunately, he did get sent home, but he was in the bottom two last week. So I feel like we've seen this.
Hmm.
It was similar with Teresa. She was in the bottom two. The second
Yeah.
time she was in the bottom two, she went home. Same with Cheryl from last week. She was in the bottom two twice. The second time she made it into the bottom two, she was sent home. So there's kind of a pattern here. So what I'm thinking is you don't want to be in the bottom two twice because if you're in it twice, you're going home.
So does that mean you think Emma is going home next week, Emma and Trevor?
Well, if Emma and Trevor make it into the bottom two again, then they would then if we're following if history's repeating itself, then could potentially. But I don't see them. I don't know why. I feel like maybe they're in a lull for a second. I see them pulling it back, pulling it back together for next week, week 5.
Yeah, I don't really just know who else would be on the bottom though after that. I mean, Daniel Duran's been doing a pretty good job, but I'm not really seeing him like up there with some of the others. And I mean, I thought Joseph
Hmm.
did pretty well as Hercules this week, but he's not really getting the most like love and attention, I feel like, online. So he could also be on the chopping block in the next couple of weeks.
I also feel like there's a potential for Jessie James Decker. I feel like she's had some lower scores in the past. She hasn't been in the full bottom, but she's been more of that lower middle tier.
Hmm.
And then who else do we have? We have Selma, but Selma's always been riding pretty good in the middle. She hasn't really dropped too low. And then there's Vinny. Vinny's honestly a wild card.
And Brandon and Jordan also. I mean, they're doing pretty good
Yep.
too.
They crushed it, yeah. But I think if we're talking about who's been in the lower tier, it's been Vinny, Jessie James Decker, obviously Sam, but he's gone home, Trevor recently.
Yeah.
So maybe
So
those
those
are
are
the people we're going to be
probably,
seeing.
yeah, in the next couple of weeks. I mean, next week's two
Hmm.
nights. So I don't know if that means there's going to be two more couples eliminated. I mean, this competition is going pretty fast.
Yeah, we've got 2 nights coming up, which means more performances, so Monday and Tuesday, and those performances just keep getting bigger scores, better dances. I mean, I'm curious if we're gonna see more eliminations next week, and also how the dances stack up, because if they're having only 1 week to prepare for 2 dances, and a lot of people have been struggling with
Mhm.
1, I'm curious where we're gonna see maybe, our top people drop a little bit in the leaderboard.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think this is going to really be the middle of the season where you're going to be tested in
Mhm.
all ways possible and the strong are going to prevail. And I don't want to say the weak, but the weakest links are going to go. I mean, I think it's going to be 2 people eliminated next week with 2 nights. I don't really see why they would
Ooh.
stretch it, especially when there's 12 couples left,
Yeah.
that guarantees another 7 episodes.